Alright, you noticed that this is a new release. Obviously, took a break from catch up week because I had to always catch the new release. You know, folks, I do this for you guys. So let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And I've got to say that this is a really interesting continuation of the first film. I think in some aspects it is better than the first one, but in others it is significantly worse than the first one. Like, oh my goodness. I will have to talk some spoilers, but I will save that till the end to really get into what I disliked heavily about this film, but also what I really did enjoy about this film. So, for starters, the story, it picks up, I believe it's a few years after the events of the first one. If we are to follow real life, it's 2 years after the first one, because the first one came out 2 years ago, so I'm going to say 2 years. But at the same time, I don't know when the first one took place, but apparently the second one takes place in 2002, so that's what I'm understanding. And I think that this is a really solid continuation of the story. I like how it focuses a little bit more on the character of Vanessa in aspects, and I find that little dynamic interesting, as it does kind of shift point of view for a little bit, but it's all building up to its ending, which I will say kindly, maybe not the strongest. But, again, I'll save what I really think about the ending for later. But I think that this has a lot going for it, narratively speaking. It definitely feels like a lot of setup for a third installment that will pay off, hopefully, all of this setup. Or maybe a fifth installment that will pay off everything. Because it is called Five Nights at Freddy's, so it only makes sense for them to go to 5. But yeah. I'm going to give a Hot Pocket score here, just because while I do really enjoy the story that they're building up, its conclusion is not the greatest in my humblest opinion. But now let's talk about cinematically speaking. It is phenomenal. I think that the visual effects are just as good as the first one. The animatronics look just as good. They look amazing. Some of the other visual ideas, phenomenal as well. The score is fantastic. So cinematically speaking, that this is a solid film in every aspect of production. So I'm going to give a hand grenade score here. Directing, I thought it was actually pretty well directed, pretty well paced. It's just a matter of I don't like a lot of the ideas that they had that the director had for the finale. Just weird choices, odd camera angles, and just a lot of weird decisions for the finale. The finale is really where this movie just gets pulled back so often. So yeah, I'm going to give a Hot Pocket score here. Performances, though, I actually did really enjoy the performances from this film, especially with Elizabeth Lail as Vanessa. I thought she was really good in the role. Josh Hutcherson was also really solid, and Piper Rubio as Abby as well. I really enjoyed those three. There are core three, and then there were some others that were also pretty solid. McKenna Grace is in it about as much as you would have expected, although there are some cool moments for her. And yeah, I think that's all I can really say without spoiling. So I'm going to say I'll give a hand grenade score for the acting and overall expectations and experience. This met my expectations, and then it did not meet my expectations. So I'm going to say that this is a Hot Pocket movie. I do recommend checking it out if you are a fan of the video game franchise. But now I need to get into spoilers, so that was your last call. If you don't want anything for this movie spoiled, tap out now, leave a like, subscribe, and maybe come back later once you've seen the movie, because now it's spoiler time. 3, 2, 1. That's it. That's all you get. So, a lot of what I liked is the lore building around the FNAF games. I really enjoy a good chunk of what FNAF has lore-wise. I watched all the game theories. I loved them. And I really like the lore behind it. And I think that this movie is at its best when it's like spreading out the lore and like delving into it, which is really interesting, especially since, yes, Elizabeth is the daughter of Afton, William Afton, and how that connects to the lore and the whole rest of the saga. And then this movie also has Michael Afton in it, and that's really interesting, especially that continuation. And I do have to admit, one of my favorite aspects of this film is how the marionette, the puppet, acts in this film. I really enjoy how this one is like not like an animatronic of sorts, but like actually takes over like the body, like takes over people's bodies. I found that actually really fascinating, especially when it's first revealed taking over McKenna Grace. And I'm like, oh, so that's why they brought McKenna Grace in, just to do this one little role. And then especially how it's built on later and the payoffs that it has. I don't think the puppet taking over Vanessa was a good call for like the final shot. I think that would have made for a better post-credit scene rather than a like literal final shot to the movie, because then you're like, oh, that's bullshit. But if it was a post-credit scene, you're like, oh, that's still bullshit, but less so. And now let's get into the real big issue with the final act, and that is, what the fuck were they thinking? Like, there's no other way to put it. They have this big confrontation, and then all of a sudden, Deus Ex Machina, the original 4 from the first movie, come in and save the day. And then they're like, I can't hold them back anymore. And because that's all teasing the third one. I like the post-credit scene that teases what will happen next. I just still think that maybe it would have benefited from another post-credit scene of like the puppet taking over Elizabeth, Lael's character, Vanessa. But I do like how they had technically 2 post-credit scenes. We found out on accident, just staying through the whole credits and then hearing the final voice line, which is phenomenal, by the way. I really enjoyed that bit of lore as well. But again, this is for the, like, if you're a big FNAF fan, you're going to really enjoy this. But if you're like not, I don't think it's as enjoyable. But I did enjoy a lot of it. But God, I just could not understand why they decided the final act to be that way. And that's just my biggest issue with the film. Other than that, I really enjoyed the lore building, the like explanation, and how a lot of this happened and played out. Just not that final act. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below your thoughts and opinions on Five Nights at Freddy's 2. If you've seen it or now you're planning on seeing it, subscribe if you haven't already. And other than that, I'll leave you guys to it. Till next time, bye.